Hi, you've reached a holiday edition of the Signal Watch. I'm your Yuletide host, Ryan Steens. For some holiday cheer, join me in our chorus of co-contributors as we give the gift of holiday movie discussion, talking films both nice and, less nice. We'll examine Christmassy artifacts of the 20th century, merrily explore the 21st, and try to put it all in peppermint perspective. Stay tuned. We're gonna try to make this jolly. Happy holidays and welcome back to the Signal Watch. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Steens. And with me today is...
Stuart.
Hey, Stuart. Happy holidays, man, here in November 5th.
You have to remember that date.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, yeah.
Yeah.
We're feeling festive already.
I guess we are. We have both watched it seems like basic cable is trying to turn into a holiday classic, which, they just do through repeat, airings. But most people are getting off cable, so I don't know if that'll take. But we watched what, Stuart?
The Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, Jingle All the Way.
So let's go ahead and put our cards on the table. Do you enjoy Jingle All the Way?
Gosh, I don't know if I can. I have mixed feelings, so I don't know if I can just give it an up or down vote. I'd say
totally fair.
I'd say it's kind of scrapes by at a 3 stars for me because 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 3 out of 5, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, it's not, I mean, obviously it has some huge problems. Parts of it are really cringy and parts of it are really clunky. But I do enjoy other parts of it. So, yeah. And plus now I have the added layer of having watched it with my son, and he really enjoyed it. And he has now watched it since what day is it? Friday? He's watched it 3 times this week. And when he's frustrated, he started saying some of the lines, like threateningly, like, "Where's your Christmas spirit?" Right? In his best Arnold Schwarzenegger voice for like a 7-year-old.
Well, maybe that makes it all worth it.
That bumps it up another half star, right? So
yeah. I would also say it's a 3-star out of 10 stars.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw this movie the first time. I rented it with my mother. And so my first memory of this movie, let me hop back a little bit, because I think I have many theories about this movie, but I remember around when this was coming out, Arnold Schwarzenegger had lifted the veil a little bit and was talking about this on, some talk show or whatever. And he was selling a product. There was no illusion of like art, or we're doing, I'm in film school in 95 when this comes out. And so I'm really paying attention to kind of, because I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though like I was a film school nerd, it's like he was my dude. But I heard him and I was like, okay, for him, this is all business decisions. He's going to be in a holiday thing that's going to appeal to a certain demographic, and it's going to put butts in seats, and he'll get a cut off the top. And he doesn't frankly really care what it is.
Yeah.
He's had fun making it. He's happy to be out here promoting it and being on talk shows, but he is selling there was no like, you got to really see this because it really tells you something about people. He was like, you'll have a laugh for an hour and a half, get the kids out of the house. That really what you're looking for during the month of the holiday season to just deal with your children for about 90 minutes. This is a good way to do that. And so that really kind of colored, but eventually I rented it with just my mom for some reason. It was the two of us were at Blockbuster and trying to decide on something. And at the end of it, my mom, who it's a wild ride of what she will and will not like, but I kind of looked at her and she was just like, oof. I was like, wow. Because I thought with like the little kid, my mom's been a teacher for 30 years and all that. And I thought she was going to be like the little kid, saved the day. But she was just like, that was the most crassly commercial thing I've seen in quite a while. And I was like, yeah, it kind of was. But
I honestly kind of thought my first exposure to it was after I had been out of the country. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you're like, there's like a big media blitz for some big movie and you're not there for it. And then you come
my
back.
Entire COVID experience so far.
Right. But then you come back later and so it's already happened. The whole world thinks this is a big movie and you're like, and you have no idea what it is. And you look at it and you're like, that's not real. That's fake. That's like one of those movies. That's one of like the most fake movies in a movie where they're making fun of movies. You're telling me they made a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger where he gets trampled, in some kind of mad rush Black Friday thing, going for a Cabbage Patch doll? That's not real. And, the more stuff I would see for, I'm like, oh my God, they really made that? That's a real thing? That just seemed like such a movie that was made by an algorithm or something, like I couldn't believe it was a Saturday Night Live sketch, right?
Yeah.
Making fun of the kinds of movies that Arnold was doing then, like Junior, and Twins and Kindergarten Cop and those things, but like even more silly, like even more extreme. But no, it turns out that it really was a real movie. I didn't see it till it came on cable, and yeah, it's not fantastic. The other thing is I was, too old for the kind of Power Rangers craze too.
Oh yeah.
So this movie relies a lot on that kind of Power Rangers iconography. That's the thing that the kid really wants. And so that kind of set me, back. So I couldn't really identify that much with it, and then as soon as it became apparent that it's really, it goes beyond slapstick to just be like a live action cartoon. I think that, it makes sense that it's the same director as the Flintstones movie, because
so who directed it? I for some reason, Chris Columbus produced it, but
it's Brian Levant. I don't know if you pronounce it Levant or Levant,
okay.
but yeah, it's the Flintstones guy. And so when because I'm going along and all of a sudden, like a bomb will go out. They'll have like really silly jokes about kind of serious subject matter like that. Like, like mail bombs. A bomb goes off in a cop's hand and then they cut away and the guy's like, oh, I guess there really was a bomb, shrug shoulders. And then they cut back to the cop and he's just like covered in soot,
So like, I have a theory about this movie and it could be, I didn't do any research. It's just, it struck me the first time I watched this movie when they hit the Santa warehouse.
Yeah.
In that this much like, and there's other movies that I know were like this, like Pretty Woman. And then there's some that I suspect were like this, but I think this movie was originally written as a hard R.
Yeah. Yeah. It does have a few, you can definitely tell that it wants to go to these sort of like satire-y black comedy places, mm-hmm. but it can't because it's got to remain PG, right?
Yeah.
So it has a very weird feel to it when they do go to the Santa. They go to the Santa place, and that definitely could have been played. I could see the R-rated version of that, but it's played so goofy in this one. By the way, I couldn't believe that I like Jim Belushi. I think he's a highlight of the movie as the Santa con artist guy. but I couldn't believe they didn't get Tom Arnold right at the time because
because
of Arnold's friendship with Tom Arnold, and but he seemed kind of perfect for that. But yeah, there's a number of spots like that. The trampling scene in the toy store, where it sort of dabbles in like social commentary, but not really. It always
pulls back really, a little bit. It's a little toothless. Yeah. And honestly, one of the other things was Phil Hartman trying to get in Rita Wilson's pants the entire movie. Like the first time I watched it, and one of the other movies I believe is like this. It's Hocus Pocus, by the way. Because if you ever watch Hocus Pocus, it's a children's movie that really cares about whether or not a 15-year-old is a virgin or not. Which is like, I saw Hocus Pocus as like a 42-year-old adult, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with this movie? Why is this a beloved children's classic? Why is the major plot point that a 15-year-old is a virgin, and that's humiliating? Yeah.
In fact, I had my daughter actually brought that up as we were watching that this year.
It's messed up. It's
and the part not to divert too much on Hocus Pocus, but also the part where the witches go try to get a ride with the bus driver, and it's all like heavy sexual innuendo. Yeah, as the bus driver's like hitting on all three women. And like, we're trying to find children, right? We're out here trying to find children, and he's like, "Well, it might take me a couple tries, but like, this is a Disney movie."
Yeah. And I mean, it was the 90s. I mean, it was much more of an anything goes, kind of period. But I mean, that was what was showing up in kids' entertainment. And that's the thing is, like, I keep trying to remember, right, this is really aimed at people pretty much in exactly your demographic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is totally like working too much with.
This is like middle-class white dude insecurities on display right here. Like, the whole world is out to get this guy. He is not at fault for anything. The cops are out to get him, right? The retail store clerks are like gleefully, relishing the fact that they get to hold the store closed for an extra 2 minutes and laughing at him and stuff. His next door neighbor, the divorced dad, is out to get him because he's trying to like sleep with every woman in the neighborhood, including his wife. It's just like, it's a movie that gears toward the insecurity of the middle-class white guy and makes it seem like everyone is out to get him, when in fact it's the exact opposite. All those systems that he's afraid of are geared to support him, geared to cater toward him. Because I've been on the other side of that retail store door, where you're being harassed by the customers and you're really just trying to help them, right? And I know what it's like on the other side. And so it's weird to watch it from that point of view.
I should pause and just do a really quick synopsis, or else Michael Bell will go after me with the hatchet. So if you've not seen Jingle All the Way, and you are like, I'm listening to this podcast anyway, the basic story is what you've probably gleaned already. Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a salesman for like a furniture company, wholesaler or something. And he's really successful there. At home, he has a child played by Jake Lloyd in the role that got him Star Wars. So he's younger than he was as Anakin. And his wife is played by Rita Wilson, who's in the most thankless role, but still is pretty terrific. And he keeps failing his son and therefore his wife by like not showing up for his karate match, blah, blah, blah. His wife has told him many weeks previous, hey, you got to pick up this. They keep calling it a doll, Turbo Man doll. And I was also, anyway, I'll talk about, by 1995, we knew what the hell an action figure was, but whatever. But she tells him he was supposed to have picked it up, and he's like, oh, I totally forgot. So he goes out on Christmas morning or Christmas Eve morning at like 8:30 to go get it. And he has many adventures that include Sinbad, who is another bad dad, who has similarly been failing his son. So, and hijinks ensue.
It's like that. It's like the doll is just a metaphor for the fact that he feels like he's been failing his family, right?
Yeah.
And this is the one thing he wants to be a hero, and that's kind of the I guess the parts of the movie that still kind of get to me, as silly and misguided as it is the scenes where now I as a 40s in my 40s father of some kid who has asked for a toy that's impossible to get at Christmas, right? The scene where he says, I'm gonna do something, I promise, right? And the camera like closes it. I promise. Oh, I can't even watch it. I have to literally turn away when he says the words I promise. It hurts my chest to see that. So I totally identify with this guy in a way that I never did when I saw it when I was like, I don't know, 18 or something like that, and have kind of caught it a couple times on cable or whatever over the years. Now I see what they're getting at a lot more. And the bit where the fantasy that he has too, where he imagines, his son, because he doesn't get this doll, then he's like socially ostracized and he becomes a failure in life, right? And he's like he's drinking at the bar and stuff.
That scene is after I love, like, I don't like this movie, but the warehouse scene is great. And the scene they cut to little Jake Lloyd with with the bottle of booze, right? It's a totally irrational thought and feeling, but I totally have had that same feeling. I'm like, if I don't get my kids the popular thing, is it going to affect their development or whatever, and it's a really stupid thing to think, but I have thought that, I have felt that. And on top of that, the whole imagery of like him, literally becoming his son's hero, and his son, being able to take the mask off, be like, look, I didn't forget, I didn't miss the parade, I didn't miss your big day because it's me, I'm here, I'm your hero. And he looks up at his dad, he's like, you are my hero. It's like, it's totally like dream logic, but I totally can identify with that as well. Because that's what you want, right? You want to be there to save the day for your kid. You want your kid to look at you like that. And seeing that represented on screen still kind of gets to me, even as silly as everything else, how it gets there. So, I don't have children. And so I mostly know about this kind of stuff from talking to folks like yourself and watching my brother now with his kids. My brother's children are 6 and 4. They have a very different attitude about their house about it. I wasn't around. Sorry. But I will say this. I am a child who was exactly the right age when the Cabbage Patch thing started, which was really the first time you heard about the shortage, that I became aware of the shortage, but that rose into violence. Like I know, like Christmas Story, I think had some allusions to like shortages of popular toys or whatever. But really, when the Cabbage Patch Kid thing happened, if you're too young, what happened was you probably know what a Cabbage Patch Kid is. It's the weird dolls that look like they have a gland problem, but they were incredibly popular in like 82, something like that. Like it was just insane. And every parent decided their kid had to have one. And because of this, I decided I needed one, whether I was ever going to play with it or not. So I told my parents I would like a Cabbage Patch Kid like every other kid at Christmas. And I distinctly remember my mom, and I put it on my Santa list, whatever. And I distinctly remember my mom coming and sitting me down and going, not this year. You've been watching the news, they're impossible to get. And I went, uh-huh. And at second grade, I believe I already no longer believed in Santa, or else she told me like, it's not coming from Santa, so it's up to me to do it. And I can't. And I was like, and I basically was like, message understood. Like, I understand supply and demand. I've seen the footage on TV of people hitting, and I didn't want my parents to get into a fight, like the idea of my parents like actually scrambling like that. And I understood later they had gone to Toys R Us and gotten on some waiting list for me and had done those things.
Yeah, I was about to say, even though she had that conversation with you, I bet she still tried.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was because she had tried.
Yeah,
and she was like, I basically, there's no way with everything else that's got to happen between now and Christmas, I can put any energy into this. She was a working, full-time teacher. When the school year ended, then she had time to go look into all that. But before that, she's running school Christmas programs, and all the rest of that. So. And then, of course, we had my relatives all coming. So she had to get ready for that. So she basically had the 30 minutes it took to go to Toys R Us. Say, do you have them? No, you can get on this list. And then she said, I'm on a list, but it ain't going to happen. So flash forward to like fourth grade. And I'm a big kid at this point. I'm 6'5" now. So at this point, I'm like 5'9", 5'10". And I get a freaking Cabbage Patch Kid under the tree that I no longer cared about nor wanted.
Right.
But I also understood, be really excited about this Cabbage Patch Kid. Your parents looked for 3 Christmases for this thing. And so I did a lot of show of like, I love this thing.
This is
in the
great.
meantime, I'm like, I really want to go read Hardy Boys instead. But, I just carried the thing around and, for a few days after Christmas. But was just kind of like, got home, kept it, visible wherever, but really was kind of embarrassed about the whole thing at that point. But I mean, I'm familiar with like the mad dash, but because I haven't had kind of my thoughts about it transplanted to the parent side, I definitely remember it from the kid side. And I can tell you the kid isn't going to end up as a mailman drinking booze.
Sure.
On Christmas Eve, if they don't get the Cabbage Patch.
They'll be fine. Yeah.
They'll be fine. They'll adjust. But you have to be honest with the kid too, which is something movies always hinge on no one telling the truth, right? Which, is interesting.
Just comedy in general, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. And this kid, I'm sorry, the kid doesn't do anything wrong. The kid is
no, he's fine. Yeah.
He's nice very kid. Believable as a kid the age he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it totally hinges. I mean, he doesn't do anything correct through the entire movie, this dad. I mean, Jamie was just like, how many laws is this guy breaking? And that's because we started talking about how I thought this movie should have been rated R. And I was like, this is why. I was like, he's, constantly in trouble with cops. He's constantly like, even the end, his whole Turbo Man thing isn't because of anything he did.
No. He lucked into it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, no, we're just going to give you the happy ending, Deus Ex Machina. And it was just fine. But at the same time, the movie ends up kind of this weirdly dissatisfying thing because.
Well, did you notice? Did you stay through the post-credit scene?
What?
There's a post-credit. Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
There's a post-credit scene.
No.
And so what happens after spoilers, obviously.
Uh-huh.
After he finally, so like you say, he does everything wrong in his quest to do the right thing for his kid, or the thing he wants to do for his kid. I don't even know what's the right thing. Breaks a bunch of laws, breaks a bunch of social norms. He goes chasing after stranger kids. He breaks into his neighbor's house and steals presents from under the tree.
Sets it on fire.
Sets his neighbor's house on fire. Unintentionally, but still, he gets
a reindeer drunk.
He gets the reindeer drunk. He punches the reindeer, which I thought was maybe a reference to Conan the Barbarian. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he finally does get the toy for his kid because he lucks into it and reveals himself to be the hero, that his kid, that he wants his kid to see him as. And the wife is like, oh my gosh, she's kind of impressed too. And the credits roll. And then at the end, she says, they're about to go to bed. And she says, now, Howard, after all the effort that you went to get, I can't remember the kid's name. The kid, his present.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what you got me. Right. And then he his eyes bug out, like the sequel's about to start. Right. And so again, he gets the whole thing centers on his insecurities and he gets no rest from it. Even though he wins in the end, he still loses. Because
the real enemy is like that. I like. Okay, so it's streaming for free on YouTube right now. You can just go to YouTube, and the whole movie's on there. That's how we watched it last night. It's legit. Yeah, it's a legit like streaming for free on YouTube TV or whatever. So I'll go back and watch the credit sequence, but or the post credit sequence, but. Yeah, I mean, the string of crimes he commits is, I mean,
it's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and also could never occur in the time frame of.
Well, I was going to say, even if you're able to, so my experience is, even if you're able to get your child the Impossible toy, because this tracks, even if you are able to do it, that only delays that conversation, because then what happens is next Christmas they expect you to do it again. Next Christmas it'll be a different toy, right? It won't be Turbo Man, it'll be something else.
Sure.
That every kid wants to have this year, and they'll say, "Oh, Santa's going to bring me this, or you're going to bring me that, the new thing," and you will have lucked out and got it that year. But now this year you're like, "Oh crap." I have to do it again. And then if you're able to do it that year, you have to do it again because you set this high expectation. And that's what happened to me so I had this experience when, do you know what a Hatchimal is?
Only because of you.
Okay. Yeah. Hatchimal.
I remember your Hatchimal quest.
Yeah. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't remember when exactly, but man, the Hatchimals were sold out everywhere. You know, you could go on eBay. That was the other thing that thought that occurred to me, is if this movie happened now, I mean, the only question is how much he's willing to pay. He could get the toy.
Yeah.
The only question is, are you willing to pay like $500 to get it, you know, second day aired to you or whatever from some reseller on eBay. But yeah, my daughter really wanted this toy called a Hatchimal, which is a thing that it hatches out of an egg. Right. When you unwrap it, it's a bird inside the egg, and it pecks its way out of the egg, and then it introduces itself to you, and it does all this kind of interactive stuff. But you get to watch it be born. That's part of the excitement. You don't know what it's going to look like. So it's got the blind box kind of aura to it too. And they cost like, I want to say $60 retail. They're kind of large. And they were gone. And I was looking and looking and looking. I didn't want to pay like $250 online to get one. And one day I just kind of lucked into a whole display of them at Barnes and Noble, near where I work. I'll go for a walk from my office to Barnes and Noble nearby just to check out, you know, the magazines and new releases and stuff. And there it was, this huge display of Hatchimals. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy like 3 of them. And I'm going to sell 2 in order to pay for the third one that I actually give her, which I felt a little bad about because I was one of those resellers that I hate.
But did it work?
It worked. Yeah, it worked.
Hey, well,
I managed to, yeah.
Supply and demand, man.
Yeah. I managed to get back in profit enough to have covered. That was the other issue, is I couldn't really afford, even if I had found one, I could barely have afforded $60 for a toy that year. And so, yeah, I was able to get the toy she wanted. She unwrapped it on Christmas. It was a magical moment. I had it all on video on the phone, you know, her watching the little thing peck its way out and waiting for it to hatch and all excited. She got to know her Hatchimal. And then about 2 weeks later, she pretty much never touched that thing again. Right.
In the Cabbage Patch Kid.
And it just became something that sat on her shelf and didn't matter anymore. But then the next year, the thing she wanted, I think it was Fingerlings.
I don't have any idea what that is.
I don't remember. That might have been another year, but I do remember that the next year she wanted something else that was basically impossible to get unless you were really willing to pay reseller, you know, eBay prices. And I just had to be like, well, nope, we can't do it this year, you know? So yeah, I mean, the lesson is that it's really, the toy is not the issue, right? It's your insecurity about your parenting. It's your insecurity about your kid. That's really the issue that you have to tackle. And even if you get the toy, it's not going to solve the problem.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that. I mean, of course, you want to be able to get you make sure you're making magical moments for the kids, and seeing that as part of the nurturing of the kids. Yeah, and that is, as you said, why that one scene is so striking of Jake Lloyd drinking. I mean, that could have been a really saccharine moment, but I think when they cut to little Jake Lloyd, the mailman outfit, it's like you both get the point, but they've made it really funny.
It was really funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the biggest laughs in the movie, but yeah, I mean, I feel for y'all. I mean, I also know my brother's like super lucky in that like his kid is like totally happy to like play with rocks in the yard. Like he has not yet. I mean, we'll see in a couple of years if there's like the hot toy of the moment. I was told, I don't think he listens to the podcast, so I think I can say this out loud, that he wants Beyblade for Christmas. And I was like,
what does he want?
Beyblade? Whatever.
I don't know what Beyblade is.
It's like a top, but it's like you put them into a little arena at each other. Maybe I'm saying it wrong.
Huh.
But it was easy enough. I mean, I'm done with my Christmas shopping for my niece and nephew before Halloween, because I was like, I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not running to the mall or anything. I just want to take care of this as easily as I can. So yeah, we have it down. I just ask them like in October, like, what do I get the kids? Because I don't want to get crosswise with them, because I got them like a drum kit or something and a tuba. So, I want to make sure they're happy with what I got them. And so, yeah, they just send me a list and I'm already done. So,
well, we're now at the get me an iPhone stage.
Oh, yeah.
So,
oh, that sucks, dude.
So, yeah.
So Daddy wants an iPhone.
I know. Like, I was like, I can't get one for myself, much less one for you. So, yeah,
an actual tablet.
What did you think? What did you think? How much do you think the Turbo Man doll cost in 1996? A doll that's from a popular TV show that's that size, that has voice, that's voice controlled or whatever, has like multiple phrases he says, and shoots little discs, right?
I think it would have been cheaper retail than, I mean, in $1995, I would have bet about $35.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, around $30.
Yeah.
They never say in the movie. They never, because it's the cost of the doll is not the issue.
Yeah.
Right. And I did love the detail.
You saw their house and their furniture.
Right.
Money
was
not an issue for this family.
Just the coat that the guy was wearing. I was like, I mean, he just emanates like upper middle class.
Yeah.
But like, I like the detail of the sidekick character that nobody wants. Right.
There were some really knowing things.
Yeah.
Including just casting Curtis Armstrong as.
So, yeah. But for me, that was Bob the Goon. Do you remember Bob the Goon from Batman?
Everyone remembers Bob the Goon.
Man, so I never had a Christmas thing that I couldn't get for Christmas. But boy, did I want a Batman action figure in the summer of '89. And man, they were impossible to find.
Yeah.
And I just remember going from store to store to store, and everywhere you went, Bob the Goon, Bob the Goon, Bob the Goon. It's all you could find. Yeah.
So Stuart and I are both, well, you're not anymore, but I'm a bit of an action figure collector. And they call those peg warmers.
Yeah.
Anything that just sits there, a toy that's part of a line that nobody wants. Like imagine in from Star Wars, if nobody wanted, oh God, now his name's totally escaping me. Jabba's sidekick guy.
Oh, Salacious Crumb.
Yeah, no, not Salacious Crumb. The guy, the Twilight.
Oh, the Bib Fortuna. Guy with the tentacles.
Like Bib Fortuna. I mean, Star Wars had always kind of figured it out. Like people will buy all of them, whatever. But with a lot of toy lines, and it used to always be the female characters, and that is the opposite of the truth now, because now it's all like adult males who are like, oh, it's Baroness, definitely buy that.
Yeah.
But they went through all the. I very much remember this era because I was out of high school. I didn't have any income in '95 to speak of. but I remember those toys that they were like panning across of like, that was when the
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, and
they showed Ghost Rider multiple times in the movie, and I was like, that's weird that they keep showing Ghost Rider.
Well, it was, yeah, they had, clearly there was some deal with Marvel because
because of the Captain America on the kid's wall. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Which is a really cool decal.
Well, and I was half wondering if they were like, went to the art department and they're like, can you do like some superhero stuff on the wall? And then they found out they had the Marvel deal, and someone was like, I'm doing Kirby.
Yeah.
And it was like some total nerd who was like, I get to do a giant Kirby on the wall.
Yeah, it's an amazing decal.
Yeah. And but yeah, there's a whole history you can dig into of Marvel bought Toy Biz bought Marvel. I'm never really sure on exactly what happened there, but it's basically how Marvel ended up spiraling upward to become what it is now. And so if you see names like Avi Arad and whatnot associated with Marvel being a producer, he was the guy who owned the toy company. And those are the toys you see. And they were huge at the time. There was also a few other things they showed in the background. Like the Tick was in the parade.
Yeah.
It was like, well, yeah, the Tick was in a cartoon for like a hot minute there. And
so very briefly.
A children's character for like
there were a few characters that were not recognized here, but he did call out Sonic.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's Sonic.
And that was like super early Sonic. Yeah.
Yeah. So so I read a little bit about this online, and I read that initially the part of Myron, the other bad dad, was supposed to be Joe Pesci.
Oh, weird.
I guess. But then the director wanted to hold out for Sinbad. Right. So Sinbad was a deliberate choice, and it was partly because that he was tall enough.
Yeah.
Right. To be in like two shots with Arnold. And what did you think of Myron, I guess, the Sinbad character?
It's part of why I think it's a rated R movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he's weirdly not redeemable in this movie. Like he's there's something where he says, oh, you and I are more alike than, you and I are we're not so different, you and I, or whatever. And they really are very similar characters. He just has bad luck through the whole thing. And,
yeah.
And he's kind of the cautionary tale. He plays a lot of different roles throughout the course of the film. But at the end of the film, he's going to jail.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, his kid's not getting a Turbo Man for Christmas. I know he is getting the Turbo Man, right? He gets the Turbo Man, but his dad goes to jail.
You say he's not getting Turbo Man on Christmas morning. He's
no, I don't know. I know that Sinbad. I mean, I kind of like Sinbad. So I think he's kind of likable, even as a heel. But I don't know how much of like race and class they meant to inject into this movie. But it seems like Sinbad. I don't know if it's ad-libbed and unintentional and not in the script. But Myron brings up being black a lot, right? And it seems like it gives the whole thing another shade for me, I guess, because, he is a lower class. He's a service worker. He's a postal worker, right? He's a person of color. So he's somebody who's distinctly kind of lower on the class spectrum than Arnold, who's clearly doing very well, right? And doesn't want anything to do with this guy. And I just wonder, I guess it's probably not intentional. It's probably just played for laughs. Like when he's like, bringing up Rodney King and stuff like that, when the people are trampling him and whatnot. Yeah. But it seems like another kind of dimension in which, Myron is another part of the world that Arnold assumes is against him, right? This is not just the retail workers, right? Not just the single dads in the neighborhood, but also like the people of color, maybe also the social services people that he maybe looks down upon. He clearly does look down upon him because, you know,
the movie absolutely does. I mean, it's in a way that I remember the first time I saw it, I found a little surprising and distasteful.
Sinbad wants to team up, and Arnold kind of looks at him with this, you know, with disgust almost, you know, you're beneath me. Why would I want to team up with you? You know, and like I said, I don't know if it was intentional, being that the originally was supposed to go to Joe Pesci, right? But being that Sinbad is who he is, it just gives it a different flavor, I guess, you know?
Yeah, I think you're not wrong. I am positive a lot of the stuff, like the Rodney King stuff, was, you know, ad-libbed. They hired Sinbad for a reason. I mean, Sinbad's comedy, I used to really like. Sinbad also didn't have a set. I don't know if people are aware of that, but Sinbad's whole thing was he would come out and talk to the audience and riff. And he was kind of famous for doing this. So if you're bringing him on a movie, he's going to just say whatever in those moments. So yeah, but it absolutely, it's, you know, when they show, you know, when I was keep talking about this hilarious scene of Jake Lloyd, you know, drinking the whiskey, at the same time, they're showing him as a public servant.
Right. Yeah. In the postal.
And it's like, oh, he failed. It's like, that dude has a pension plan.
Right. No, he's perfectly, he's doing fine.
Yeah. He
could be doing fine, but he's not doing fine, but he could be.
I mean, Jake, you're talking to someone who's in a, you know, working class, steady job. You know, there's always the thing of there's always work at the post office, right? And it's respectable work. And that's why I found it so strange. The only thing I could think at the time when it came out was that was when the term going postal was a thing. Yeah. And so people were kind of looking askance at mailmen. So if you're too young to remember, there was a period where there was a series of shootings at post offices, and it was basically attributed to the conditions of working and really, I don't know another way to say it, like just work where you're just repeating the same thing over and over and over and basically like not getting anywhere. And they're like, people are basically cracking because of the way we've set up the machinery of the post office. And so they started kind of dealing with, you know, varying people's work and whatnot. And also probably, you know, the post office wasn't doing much in the way of paying attention to the happiness of its workers and whatnot. So yeah, I think it does end up, you know, in the 90s, I thought it had a layer like you're describing. Now, when you watch it, it's, you can't miss it. It's makes the movie have a bit of a, you know, makes it cringe, man, as the kids
right. Yeah. Say. It's a little cringe. The other thing I thought about Myron was that if this was today, he would definitely be a QAnon conspiracy guy. Right.
Oh,
he would definitely be like a red hat wearing Trump supporter for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he
just goes off on rants about the man and whatnot, you know, the system set up against him.
I mean, it was kind of funny listening to it because he was definitely like doing certain flavor of 90s conspiracy theory stuff. And I think even at that, you know, the African-American community often kind of has its own flavor of what the conspiracies are. And I think that was kind of the angle he was going for. I don't know if you were to do this now. There's no way in hell they'd have enough presence of mind to, you know, either both characters would be black, but you certainly wouldn't have the guy who was the one who ends up in jail at the end being the black guy.
Right.
Unless they had a very good way of doing it, which this movie was never going to hit those marks. So yeah, I mean, I found it really, at the end, I expected the first time I saw it that, you know, Myron would have his own little, you know, redemption because it's a Christmas movie. And he does. Yeah. He goes to jail and I was shocked that he was like chasing this kid and threatening his life, whether he intended to or not. He doesn't stop chasing Jake Lloyd at any point.
No.
And I remember going, this is a misfire. This is bad. This is bad storytelling. This is a kid's Christmas movie. I know it gives the dad the chance to be the hero, but it does it at the cost of someone doing something very publicly that is very obviously going to land them in jail.
They definitely could have written it in such a way that, Myron realizes halfway through what he's doing that he should stop. Mm-hmm. But, machinery is in motion or whatever. The kid still has to be saved. Maybe Myron and Arnold together, right? Save the kid or whatever, something like that. He turns around, he realizes what he's done. But honestly, Arnold, I guess I should call him Howard. If I call him the other guy Myron, I should call him Howard. That's part of the weird thing about this movie Myron too.
Sinbad, but yeah.
But it's weird. So, one of the weird things about the movie too is it's clearly written to be just an everyman, but Arnold can't be an everyman. He can't. He's Arnold. Oh. He's always going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so they had these. Most of the movie, he's written to be just anybody. He could be Steve Martin. He could be Rick Moranis. He could be any. This actor,
movie was not written at all for Schwarzenegger.
No, but then they throw in every once in a while. There's like he has a catchphrase, right? Where's your Christmas spirit and stuff, or that line I love from Phil Hartman where he's like, you can't bench press your way out of this one. I had to explain to my kid what a bench press was. It's like, what is he talking about? He's making a comment about how this guy's really, really, he's known for being really strong and muscular. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of the, I was talking at the beginning about, Schwarzenegger's talking about this as a product. I mean, once in the 90s, I mean, when I was in film school, we had a unit in film school studying the air quote star system. So, the studio system everyone's pretty familiar with, where, the studios had their kind of, stable of actors, and you just, we're going to put, Fay Wray in this movie, and now she's in that movie. She always plays the same thing, right? And so what happened after that all fell apart was that the star system really was what took over through, I'd say probably the early aughts. And that
now was pretty much gone.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now it's about IP, right?
Yeah.
And so these people like Tom Cruise still think they're in it, and they constantly want to like rewrite things. But that was the thing. It then became an Arnold Schwarzenegger product. So he's going to rewrite the thing. He brings in his own writers to make it an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Yeah. And you want to get your movie made. And so that's why that's how you end up with these movies that were like Pretty Woman, that were originally like a gritty rated R thing, ends up as Julia Roberts, like, being adorable as a hooker for, if you think about Pretty Woman, it's a grim ass story. It had a very different ending in the original version. And I can totally see this. And Schwarzenegger, his comedy, when he does stuff, it all plays off the fact that he's Arnold Schwarzenegger being a teacher, being pregnant, being a twin with Danny DeVito. And when you try and say he's the everyman, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't work. No. I mean, I kind of go along with it for the sake of the scene or whatever, but it's never convincing.
No. And he can't deliver regular lines like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late, honey."
Yeah.
It's like, oh, how was I supposed to be here on time? And it's like, oh God, dude.
But the other thing is that Arnold, so Myron or Sinbad never learns his lesson, but Arnold never really learns his lesson either. He never kind of comes to grip with the fact that he spends his entire life lying to people, not just his family, but also his, customers. Right.
Yeah.
He tells, that's the first time we see him, he's telling literally everyone he talks to, "You're my number one customer." Right. So we immediately know this guy's not genuine. Right. He'll just say whatever he has to say. And he spends the entire time, lying to everyone, conniving, and never really comes to grips with that. He comes to grips a little bit with, his insecurities as far as, "Oh, I'm going too far to get my," he'll have his moments where he's like, "What, oh, look at me, I'm breaking into my neighbor's house. I shouldn't be doing this." But he never comes to grips with the underlying problems, the underlying character flaws that made him do that in the first place.
Yeah. it's a weird movie in a lot of ways.
But again, that's why I brought up dream logic, I guess, earlier. Is the more I watch, because now I have seen it this week at least 1.5 times. With if you combine me dipping in and out while my kid's watching it, so I'll sit down and watch a scene or two, and it does really play like a dream to me. It's like something. It's something that it doesn't really make sense, but it makes sense in the context of this is just this dude's insecurities played out, to a ridiculous degree.
Yeah. It's fascinating to me as a Christmas movie. And one of the things I find really interesting about kind of like Christmas movies after a certain point, like I'd say like 85 or so, you start getting into kind of the spate of Christmas movies where I'm like, what happened to you, Hollywood, that you're so angry with Christmas? Like Christmas is treated like Christmas at the Cranks and this and a whole bunch of stuff of like Christmas is treated as this thing that's horrible that we're all just trying to get through.
I mean, and I can see that point of view, honestly. Sometimes.
And I get it. I mean, Christmas can be, a huge hassle, but it's weird that this is sold as like this family comedy when it really is just about everyone being miserable. His wife's clearly going to leave him after the new year. Like, I have no doubt Rita Wilson's like, I have options. I'm out of here.
Their relationship's all rocky to start with. Another thing that, I mean, this movie also, it made me for a minute kind of evaluate how I relate to Christmas a little bit too, because after the second time you watch the movie, my son comes to me and he says, Dad, what do you really want for Christmas? Because he totally identifies with the kid, right? Really wanting something, and with the dad really wanting to get him something. And then it's like, an expression of love and all this stuff. And so now he wants to get something from me, and I couldn't think of anything. And I thought later I should have just made something up that he could just get me and feel good about it. But I was like, I just want you and your sister and your mom and everybody to be healthy and happy.
No,
and that's true. The thing that Christmas is such a source of stress for me. It's just like you said, it's something you have to get through, because to me, it's like, I want to deliver a happy Christmas to the family. And if I can do that, then I have succeeded. And if I can't do that, then I failed. And that's all it means to me. There's nothing that I'm like looking forward to for myself. It's just, I entirely gauge Christmas on a level of, have I fulfilled my duty or not?
Yeah.
And that's sad to me. Like I kind of thought about that, and I was like, it's true. I don't want anything for Christmas. I don't want anything other than for other people to be happy.
I went through the family VHS tapes about 8 years ago. And I may have talked about this on another Christmas podcast. I don't remember, because I know I've told this story more than once, but it's me in 7th grade running around with the family's VHS camera and on Christmas. And there's a shot of me trying to get my mom's attention. Mom, be on TV, be on the camera. And she looks,
I'm sure she loved that.
She looks so exhausted. And I know we had like 10 people in the house for Christmas. And that was my mom trying to hit all the marks for everybody else. And she didn't want anything for Christmas, which made it impossible, because my dad would just do this, like, we're going to go to the mall and we're going to find something for your mom. You got 3 hours to get the perfect thing to make your mom happy. I was like, Mom doesn't want anything. Like, this is a fool's errand. I'm spending, money just to spend money at this point. And she'll smile and nod on Christmas morning, but she's going to, whatever I got is going in the back of the closet, 2 minutes later. We're really at this point in my family, because there's only like 2 kids in the whole family at this point, we really don't exchange presents or any of that anymore. And I can't tell you how much like it eases everything, because all you're really worried about at that point is eating and drinking. and it makes everything go way, way easier. And we might like go, oh, I got you a, I gave to this charity in your name or whatever, but there's very little in the way of anyone expecting we're going to get anybody else a gift that they're going to give a crap about. So I wouldn't worry too much. You'd probably make Kermit very happy that he can, if I show up and dad when he wants for Christmas.
I wonder what it would be like to have a genuine, that's, I guess the thing that I'm worried about is, am I even capable of having a genuine experience like that, of having a happy Christmas where I enjoy myself, the family enjoys themselves, and then I look back on that as a good memory? Or is it always just going to be me trying to please people, and that's it?
I mean, I think that's, always a little part of it, no matter what. But
and then there's
I think that, at some point you do hit that point. I mean, it'll be when the kids are out of the house.
Yeah. There's a political aspect to not political like Republicans and Democrats, but within the family. Like I remember at one point I got told my dad, called me some November and was like, I've noticed you always send me a Christmas present, but you never send a Christmas present to my wife, not my mother, she's not even my stepmother because I didn't grow up with her. I never sent a present to her, right? I always send a present to him. I never sent a present to her. I think I sent a card to both of them, but it's because I don't know her and I can't. And if I saw something that I genuinely thought, oh, she would like this, I would get it.
Yeah.
But I just don't know her. And it never even occurred to me that would be perceived as some kind of a slight. But now it had me second guessing all my interactions, And so then every year after that, I'm like, okay, I got to find some random thing that I think she'll like. And I usually fail, and
give to a charity, call your dad and ask what charity you can give to. There's no one, because no matter what, no one can be mad about the fact you gave to a charity.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
I don't know. You don't know my family.
Oh.
No, I don't expect to get gifts from anyone. I'm always like surprised whenever anyone gets me a gift. And I usually have to feign that I love it, whatever it is, because I'm usually, if it's Christmas time, so focused on making everyone else's, holiday work. So, and I don't get, and if there's something I really want, I'll get it for myself anyway.
Well, I mean, that's the thing.
That's another thing. That's another thing about,
Yeah. I mean, while my family, it's all adults, and so it's like, we're getting each other, we're just basically throwing money into the economy, which is maybe the best gift of all. But
what I really love is presents. So presents on occasions that are gift giving occasions always seem perfunctory to me, right? But what I love, presents that just appear out of nowhere. I saw this and I thought of you, and so I got it for you. That actually means something to me. That means you didn't check off a list, right? You didn't go shopping on Black Friday and I was part of your list and you saw something with a Superman shield on it and that I like Superman and so you bought it, so I do like to do those kind of presents, but then, I always do feel how people will be, especially since the episode of my father, I always now second guess all the people I didn't get gifts to and how they perceive that lack of gift giving.
My big thing was for a while. I mean, so much of my family has passed at this point. It's less of a thing, but the list of people, and I'd leave someone off by accident. And then you're like, oh, damn. Like I got like 12 hours to him, and it wasn't turning into some crazy thing, but it'd just be half the time it'd be like, it didn't show up. I'm waiting for it from Amazon or whatever, because it wasn't showing up, anytime soon. But yeah, no, I mean, it's hard. Christmas is definitely stressful. And I think that's really what a lot of these movies were trying to like honestly reflect. And I think there's an audience for that. And but I also like, I think like Bad Santa kind of like hit the end zone and spiked the ball on that.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think
Krampus is another one that really summed it up.
in a very different way, but
in a different way. But I mean, it's like, it
I'm not going to argue. Yeah. It's not a comedy. Well, it is.
I think honestly, I think Krampus is a comedy,
yeah.
for at least the first, 30 minutes or so.
Yeah. I think when you try and blend that with like family fun is where you start getting into trouble.
Yeah, it gets dicey.
Because it's like, well, what am I telling my kid? It's like maybe Kermit's just seeing, but he clearly took away some message, right? He came to you and was like, Dad, what do you want?
What do you want? Yeah, no, I think he honestly, that's part of this movie's too, is it's geared to be a family movie, to be a movie watched with children, clearly. Right. And that's why, it opens with the Power Rangers scene and it closes with a Power Rangers scene, right? It's got action. It's got cartoonish slapstick. There's never you don't go too far in this movie without somebody falling down, or something like that. So it's clearly a kid's movie, and they walk a kind of a fine line when they talk about Santa too, where they're like, Santa needs help on this one. It never says there's no Santa. I'm in on this by myself, And Kermit, by the way, still does believe in Santa. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's still a little kid. If he was 18, would be having another conversation.
Well, his sister does not believe in Santa anymore.
I kind of figured she'd cross the Rubicon. Yeah.
And we asked her to keep it a secret from him, and she immediately told him there's no Santa. Immediately. And he just flat out did not believe her. He just was like, nope, you're lying. It was just like that scene in All-Star Superman when Clark reveals himself to Lois. And she's like, what are you playing at, Clark? Where'd you get that Superman suit? It was glorious. And it just was like, for me, it was like a testament to our own self-delusion, that, she's like, no, really. Mom and Dad go and buy the presents. They told me. And he's like, no, you're trying to play a trick on me.
That's awesome. So I remember it was my mom's handwriting was the giveaway.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, why is Mom's handwriting on all of these? Like, wait a minute. So
I'm on to that. We use different wrapping paper for Santa and different gift tags and all kinds of stuff.
She did that too, but then she used her own handwriting.
Oh yeah.
And so it started, I don't know, it was like second or third grade. I remember having a conversation with my parents and being a little traumatic, but the movie definitely does stay kind of within that safe realm. I would have probably enjoyed it better if it was the movie I think they kind of wanted to make. And I know what the 90s studios and Star System probably did to knock the teeth out of this thing.
Well, they couldn't have released it as a family movie at Christmas time.
No,
if they had made it in that Bad Santa style, then it would have been something completely different.
And you get one of those every once in a while. But I can also totally see like it probably, when you think about like the giant Mento helmet or whatever that he's got, I mean, obviously it's all played for adults know how stupid this is.
Well, the other thing that's weird about it is I'm now of an age where I'm starting to see things become nostalgia that I'm like, you can't be nostalgic for that. And Jingle All the Way is one of those things. So now, this year is the first year where you can get a Turbo Man doll. They have them at Walmart.
Oh,
you can get a Turbo Man Funko Pop. You can get a Turbo Man board game I saw on Amazon. It's like, it's become now people, kids that saw it when they were kids, they grow up and they're like, oh, that movie I loved. And it's become a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting with kids your kids' age, because of how split everything is. It's not going to be like, well, there was like, these were the 5 Christmas movies from the era where we grew up. We watched over and over, whether they were good or not. It's going to be, what was happening.
Every family's different now.
Yeah.
Right?
What was happening in Minecraft at Christmas? What was,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
and I don't know if there will be a shared experience that people can really come back to other than the movies their parents were showing them, which is going to end us in this weird loop of, it's like I watch White Christmas every year. It's like, that was 20 something years, 30 years before I was born, So yeah, I will be curious to see what the end result of that is. But I don't feel like they make that many. I guess they probably still make them, but it's always about like, the people trying to avoid Christmas one way or another is the big gag. This doesn't quite do that, but I do feel like it's in the same spirit of, Four Christmases or whatever, from that is and I find it interesting that that's really where Hollywood has decided the big laughs are, even though those movies never seem to do all that well. This one did okay.
How did Jingle? I was about to ask if Jingle. I mean, it got a direct to video sequel. So
yeah, I mean,
somebody was renting those tapes apparently.
Yeah, and it was a Schwarzenegger movie, and I think that alone, the star system was working for a reason. But it's also kind of that towards the end of Schwarzenegger's it's on the downside of his peak.
Yeah,
Jamie, when we were watching it, was like, whatever happened to Sinbad? And I kind of waved in the direction of the movie. I was like. I think this came
this
out.
This probably wasn't great for him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember him still doing stand-up stuff in the late 90s after that, but he wasn't really showing up in movies or TV after that. He never really got a sitcom or anything. And I half wondered if this movie didn't do him any favors.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I've not seen the sequel. So
I will not. No, I'm not even interested.
Go to my grave without seeing it. It's fine.
Why do you think it was called Jingle All the Way? Other than they just wanted to have some generic Christmas sounding thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the movie at all.
No, it doesn't. No, I have not a clue why it's called Jingle All the Way. I remember thinking that when it came out, but I've not had that thought in my head since 1995 or whatever. So,
well, you're welcome.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, even the movie, I mean, I don't know when they filmed it, but they clearly were fighting with even keeping the snow going, and
oh yeah.
And,
so I read that the parade scene at the end, the big climax, was done in Hollywood, like on a studio backlit lot instead of on an actual street. So a lot of the movie was shot in Minneapolis or St. Paul. So they did some shooting in the Mall of America, which I went to a conference in Mall of America once, and it was weird because we're staying in a hotel attached to Mall of America. And then everything we went to, the conference was in the Mall of America. All the restaurants we went to at night, the bars and stuff, were in Mall of America. So I went for like a week without seeing the outside. It was like being in a moon colony, right? When you went outside, in quotation marks, you were just going into the mall. But anyway,
I've been to a conference in Minneapolis, and that was essentially what happened. I did not leave. I got there in a taxi, realized I was wearing a Texas strength jacket.
Oh yeah, which you'll never need for the rest of the trip. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I can't leave this place and not die. So I just stayed in the hotel for like 5 days. I never saw anything in Minneapolis the whole time I was there. So, but yeah, and I do think it's kind of cool if they made it Midwestern and it made it a little bit more kind of, approachable, other than like another New York story. LA based Christmas movies always strike me as being, even though I'm from Texas, where we have never seen snow on Christmas that I can remember. It always strikes me as weird seeing palm trees and kind of the LA vibe during the Christmas season. But I thought, I would never recommend this movie to anyone. I'll be honest. I think I've de-recommended it to many people who's like, hey, you love Schwarzenegger. I'm like, yeah.
I would say I chose this movie when your initial pitch was, we're going to do bad Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I went in my head and I went, okay, what's a bad Christmas movie that I will enjoy watching?
Right.
And this is the one that landed in that Venn diagram.
Yeah. So basically what happened, the way the conversation spun out was like, that was kind of the agreement. We're going to do bad Christmas movies. We're going to give the gift of bad movies. And then all the other co-contributors, as you guys will see as the weeks progress here, were basically like, no, I don't want to watch
Don't want to do that.
movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know what to do, guys. And they're like, nah, I'm going to do this. And I was like, all right. So I'm giving the gift to everybody of watching whatever the heck they want this year.
I like talking about bad movies though, because there's no pressure. Right. Nobody cares what I have to say about Jingle All the Way. No, it's nobody's favorite that they're gonna,
God.
And I don't feel any internal pressure to like, represent the complex themes of the movie, accurately or whatever. It's Jingle All the Way. I felt kind of the same way watching Superman 3.
Yeah.
Which, I think Superman 3 is not as bad as many people do, but still it's like, it's Superman 3,
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst thing I could say about Superman 3?
Yeah. I love talking about bad movies and kind of like what do they say? What went wrong? What did they unintentionally say? And I think we've covered all of that here, but this one is in some ways now I would recommend just to be like, it's pretty crazy. It's a failure on many levels.
I mean, if you were to make a parody, like I said when I first saw the movie, I thought it was a parody. If you were to,
it's beyond parody.
Yeah, if it's like if somebody today was like, let's make a parody of a late '90s comedy, this hits the jackpot. I mean, it's like it's pretty extraordinary.
I'll say that the moment I think this movie has completely failed is it's in the when they're all in the rush for the balls that have the numbers on them.
Yep.
And Arnold knocks over Sinbad somehow, and there's a close up of him leaning into the camera and saying, "Poor baby."
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, that shot sucks. That joke is inappropriate. It's not funny. Why is that shot there? Like, it's so weird.
I had the same feeling about the crotch shot when he's in Turbo Man gear.
Uh-huh.
At some point he like sends the little discs flying and he wins some little victory. He does this little dance, yes. Right? And it's shot from like crotch level.
Yeah.
He's basically like shaking his dick in your face.
And maybe there
was like, is that intentional?
And maybe there's a cut out there that the guy was trying to assemble that he was like whittling back from to make the family friendly. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have any evidence that this is actually true, but man, it feels.
I don't think so, because I mean, if you look at the other movies Brian Levant has made, I mean, they're all in the same kind of tone. So I don't see any evidence that he intended to.
No, and it's Chris Columbus producing.
Movie.
I mean, but at the same time, you're watching it and like so many other things. We were talking a little bit before we started recording about stuff from the 80s and all the sexual innuendo that could pop up in a movie that you took your kids to back then, and it's this definitely has all of that. But at the time when I saw this movie, it was contemporary. And at the same time, I was like, what is going on with all this, like Phil Hartman trying to get with Rita Wilson stuff? Like, this is really uncomfortable. This isn't funny. And Phil Hartman's funny.
Yeah.
So he was doing something clearly for the paycheck.
I believe it was his last movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rough. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really, appreciate it.
On that somber note.
And I'm going to be very sad about Phil Hartman and that being his final film. We'll watch some news radio to cleanse the palate. But thank you all so much for listening to this point. If go watch it. Like I said, I believe it's free streaming on YouTube right now. Like as a legitimate release. YouTube's been doing that lately. So, if you get an opportunity, watch at least the opening, which has, I think, like Harvey Korman and Lorraine Newman in it or something like that too.
And Bull from Night Court.
Yeah.
I think this would be a great movie to watch while you're wrapping presents or doing something where you don't have to fully pay attention to the movie.
You're not wrong, man.
Because it has this sort of general feel of Christmassy spirit behind it. But as long as you don't actually have to pay attention to it, and every once in a while you dip in and out, it could be,
Jamie got up to go into the kitchen, and while we were at the very, very beginning of the movie, and I almost stopped to say, you probably want to see this. This is important. And was just like, fuck it. It doesn't matter. It's just,
is it though? Is it important?
It's like, it's not. I'm going to stop myself.
That's awesome.
So she basically missed the entire intro Power Rangers thing. And I was like, yeah, she'll get it. It's fine. All right, man. Well, thanks so much.
All right. It was good to talk to you again.
You too. Bye-bye. Happy holidays.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near.
So you were saying?
I was just saying I missed an opportunity to say Arnold jingled all the way in that one crotch shot. But that could
Happy holidays, everybody.
It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time.
That about wraps it up for this edition of The Signal Watch, a production of the League of Melbotus. Thanks for sticking with us. If you enjoyed the podcast, we invite you to drop on by the Signal Watch blog, where you'll find write-ups of a wide variety of movies and more. We'd love to hear from you, so find us online and let us know what you think. Whether you prefer email, blog comments, or social media, we'll be happy to hear from you. We'll be back soon with more exceedingly high-quality content. So, until next time, God damn it, babies, you've got to be kind.